Croft.
And I'm Joey Render.
And today we are going to be ranting and raving about anything and everything. Comic books, video games, movies, the works.
We've had a tough week, so we're looking back at the reason why we can't have nice things. And we're going to go through our favorite genres and figure out, there's some things that you thought were going to be great and then turn out to be so crushingly disappointing. You have things that inspired hope but just left you wanting more and never give it to you. You have things that got you to the very end and then dropped you off of a cliff. And we're going to talk about all those things that gave us nerd rage, that disappointed us, that just made us and everything. So we're going to start off. Let's start with anime. What's an anime that you feel that was very disappointing to you, Crystal?
I can't say necessarily that it was disappointing, but the weight from the whole... What am I trying to say right now? Stop, think, speak. Okay. Attack on Titan. I love Attack on Titan, but the wait for the second season is really killing me, and I kind of hate the world for it, because there have been so many, especially with Funimation dubbing everything, there have been so many, this is totally gonna happen! It's coming out! It's really gonna... No, wait, just kidding, they're just dubbing it. Wait, no, this is totally gonna happen! Part 2! Oh, wait, no. They broke the first season into 2 parts, because that was so necessary. I just want the second season. Just make it happen.
I think everyone in the anime world is waiting for that second season. Because, like I said, I remember being at an amazement, and one of the voice actresses was like, "Did you guys see the new episode?" And we're all like, "What? What new episode? What are you talking about? Is there a new episode? Oh, well, the dub version." I'm like, "Oh, no," because we're like 3 months ahead of this.
Yeah.
So yeah, I agree with you there. The wait is unbearable almost, and then I love the fact that everyone's now read the manga because everyone's like, I have to figure out what's going on. So I have a friend who watched the anime and then read all the manga in a week.
Oh god.
So she's straight up to the end of everything. So I'm like, don't you dare tell me a thing, or else we will not be friends anymore.
We'll have to get into that later. The spoilers, the people who ruin the world for everyone else. But
you can ruin Game of Thrones for me. You can ruin Walking Dead. That's fine. But if you do it for Attack on Titan, I will come at you like a badger.
I mean, just in general, anybody. This is why we can't have nice things. Is those people who will watch a new episode and then post that shit all over social media. I don't even watch Walking Dead or Game of Thrones or any of that stuff. I have minimal to zero interest in any of that stuff. But there are people in this world that just insist on telling the world exactly what just happened on the episode. And, I work until really late. I usually don't get home until 10:45, 11 at night. What if I DVR'd that shit? And now I don't even want to watch it because you already told me exactly what was going to happen.
Alright, this rant has gone on to spoilers and trolls. Let's start actually getting into this. I have a friend who... I watch the show live. I make time to watch, Walking Dead. I don't feel like necessarily there's too many spoilers for things. Game of Thrones, if someone died, oh dear God, I don't know who it was. But, I have a friend who I'm watching it live, and they're posting things. I'm like, I'm watching it live, but at the same time, why are you spoiling things? You know what you're doing, right?
Mm-hmm. You're ruining...
I can't really condone that because of for other people. I'm like, what if someone else hasn't seen that? I actually have to remove them from my feed. Even though I'm watching it live, I still cannot condone what they're doing. That's how much I'm not a fan of spoilers. I'll definitely give a spoiler alert for a lot of things because I need to talk about them. There's still people who I have not talked about BioShock Infinite to because they have not beaten it. I'm like, did you beat BioShock Infinite? Nope. We can't talk anymore.
We can't be friends.
I can't, we can talk about something else in the world, how's your gardening going? How's all that going? No, but we can't talk about BioShock Infinite anymore because I will have to spoil it. So yeah, just people who make spoilers, they grind my gears. It's just not something I find cool. But back to the anime part, there was an anime that made me rage around my room at the last episode.
Okay.
Now, there's this anime series, and it wasn't because it was bad, mind you. The anime series was called Dot Hack Sign, and it genuinely intrigued me. Like, there's stuff going on. What's this going here? That going there? It intrigued me, and this is before, things were on demand. This was the thing before, anime dubs came out the same year the anime did. This was like, they were just coming out with the DVDs, like 4 DVD, episodes at a time. And so I would get the DVD. I would wait like 2 months to get the next DVD. And wait 2 more months to get the next one because I was enthralled with this. And so the story goes along and you get to the final episode where things should have a conclusion. It's the end of the series. And the very final scene, and go play the video game. I'm like, what? Yeah, we're not going to tell you exactly what happened, so you have to go play the video game.
Aww.
I was like, you are kidding me. I've invested all this time, all this money, to be told that I need to go play the video game to the story that I've been wondering about the end of for the past year.
That's evil.
So, yeah, that's... I literally was just, like, looking at the screen like, what?
That's
what?
it.
Just, like, my face started, like, contorting and twitching, and... Mind you, don't get me wrong, I did play some of the games, but it's 4 other games that you have to pay, like, $40 a piece for.
What? That's crazy.
So I have spent on Dot Hack Sign a good, probably, almost $200 on just to see what will happen. So I'm like, F that. I'm glad, the distributors have smartened up and actually did season packs of things. But that was my rage quit moment with anime. There's a few animes that I've tried watching that people recommended to me. People recommend Sword Art Online. Liked it. Attack on Titan. Loved it. Anyone who recommends Hetalia to me one more time, I will dropkick. Because if you haven't watched Hetalia, every episode is like an Adult Swim 15-minute block. And it just spurs out line after line after line, rapid fire at you like you're watching the Gilmore Girls. And it just historically, it just doesn't quite make sense. There's no real structure to it. It's very fooly-cooly dealing with actual history and doing all this that I can't really make sense of any of it. So maybe that's a fault of mine, but also Hetalia, I would just hard pass on that one. Alright, go, Crystal. I'm good.
How do you feel about dubbed animes? Like, what is your take? Are they God's gift? Are they awful? How do you feel about that?
Dubbed anime, it's kind of like redheads. Either they're really hot or really not. I'm sorry for anyone who falls in any of these categories, but that's kind of the truth about dubs. And the stereotype with redheads, which I know nothing but great-looking redheads. You know who I'm talking about. But no, you have great dubs like, Cowboy Bebop, which even Japan is like, you did better than us. You go with that. Shin-Chan, which is, a great comedic dub. There's a really good dub when there's not a Japanese dub on the DVD. That's how you know it's a good one. I haven't... It's been a while, back in the 90s, there was always a bad dub of something. Just terrible kind of acting. Those are the early days when we haven't gotten as good as we are now at it. Everyone sounds correct and everything flows correctly nowadays. You have your favorite voice actor, artist, and everything. But back in the 90s... there was a lot of misses and less hits. And it was kind of okay because we didn't know any better. But, when you watch Project A-ko and it just sounds like, a high school play, and you watch it because you're entertained by it, but if there's like serious moments like, oh, why are you doing this? I really love you, Eiko. It's kind of like you kind of get into that kind of cheesy moment, like, but I really love you. Like they're really trying to enunciate their mouths to the, the character opening and closing. So it's just, 90s was a time where we didn't know any better, and as we've gone farther and farther ahead, I think it's more or less like which stories produce a better script than who does a bad dub of something. So, and I think it's going to be a lot more interesting now because, we've Attack on Titan, we've heard, the Japanese version for so long that, now hearing an American dub is kind of like, oh, that's weird. Instead of being the other way around, it's like, oh, we're so used to hearing the dub part get to us, like, in a commercial sense first, that when we go to Japanese, it's like, oh, okay, that's kind of weird.
That's funny because when I first started watching Attack on Titan, obviously it was before, the dubs started coming out, so it was like, I only knew the Japanese version, and like, I very quickly adapted to that, to reading the subtitles and hearing the Japanese words, so much so that, like, if someone were to come into the room and speak English, it would take me a second to register that they were speaking English for some reason. But, like, my biggest problem with dubbed things is that the scripts aren't always the same. And the Attack on Titan script that is dubbed is not the same. And that really bothers me because I think Attack on Titan was done really well, and the specific words I feel like made the situation so much more adaptable and real, and it pulled you in a little bit more. But once it got dubbed, it was like, that's not what they said. That's not how it goes. It's okay now. Now it's just okay. It was awesome. Now it's just okay. So I don't know. My experience with dubbed items, although I guess Sailor Moon was probably dubbed when I was a kid, but I just didn't realize it because I was like, Sailor Moon.
Yeah, like, there's, when you're going in from different languages, like, some words, like, don't quite exist in the English language and vice versa. Like, you'll hear them, like, randomly say, like, an American word. I'm like, that's because there really is no Japanese for it. So sometimes I think it's funny when that happens. But, yeah, I think they've gotten better. Obviously, they take some liberties because I think they have to kind of maybe tone it down sometimes. But yeah, like, I haven't experienced that too much. It's really weird when you're, like, watching it and you're remembering what was said in Japanese and like, no, it's okay, that's close. Because you have to kind of, like, they have to match the mouth movements and also kind of say the right word. So it's kind of a big challenge. And that whole process of taking it, translating it, then taking those words and rejumble them around into a phonetic match to what they're saying on screen. That's a lot of hard work that I don't envy them to do, but
yeah, not at all.
But yeah, what's also I find very funny is that there is a Sword Art Online Season 2 coming out in July. So the seasons are coming. It'll probably be like, a yearly Walking Dead sort of thing, which hopefully will be coming out sometime December of this year. Hopefully.
Did you... Alright, on to my next rant. Did you see the article? I'm not entirely sure how true or valid or accurate it is, but the Sailor Moon fans basically rejecting / rebelling against the new Sailor Moon that's coming out.
I have seen a lot of comments, very much up to date on that. That's because they looked at the original anime, or there's the manga, and then there's anime, and then there's a new style which directly takes cues from the manga. So I think that's what's going on, because any manga style, you have things, people are a lot taller, people are a lot tinier, and really more kind of out there. So I can see where people are kind of miffed. Not necessarily, I wouldn't say up in arms, a little bit miffed.
Oh no. I am definitely referring to a very specific article.
Really? What specific article? That I might not.
There are multiple groups of fans of Sailor Moon threatening mass suicide if this is not canceled.
Why?
Because they are so upset about it that they are threatening mass suicide, to the extent that some groups are even willing to go so far as to use specific means to kill themselves based on which Sailor Scout they most identify with. For example, my Sailor Scout, Sailor Mars, would be doused in kerosene and lit on fire. That's how she would die. Like, that's how anybody who associates with Sailor Mars would die. They'd kill themselves that way.
Well, speaking of we can't have nice things, is this? I take it this is a Japan thing, or is this like a whole like?
Oh, in Latin America also. Like, it's kind of a worldwide thing.
I have not heard this much. Like, is it because of just the style or what they're doing with it? Like, I have not heard about this at all.
I don't even know what exactly it is, like, about it. They're just so enraged. I'm gonna try and find it, but um they're like, they're just saying it's all wrong and it's just not how it's supposed to go. Here, I found it. Yes, awesome. Okay. If it's not canceled, okay, in front of Japanese embassies around the world, they're threatening mass suicide. And in Latin America, fans are calling, I'm reading this from the article, fans are calling for suicides based on the scout of your choice. Sailor Mars would be doused in kerosene and set on fire. Sailor Mercury would succumb to hypothermia by being tucked inside a refrigerator. Jupiter would die via electrocution. Venus would die from starvation. Sailor Moon would die from acute stupidity. It says.
I can't take that seriously now.
Yeah. But like, apparently there are quite a few people are very upset, and Japanese embassies around the world are seeing their wrath, and the creator, according to these articles, hasn't said anything about it yet, but I kind of feel like it's like a drink the Kool-Aid. Like, some people are going to say that they're going to do it, they're not going to do it. But regardless, this is kind of ridiculous. It's a show. It's definitely not worth ending your life for. That's just mine.
Apparently this happened. We're recording this now on the 20th. This is happening. This article I saw was on the 17th, so I've obviously been out and about and not seen that. I do know that Japanese culture is very much a big fan of their items, so I can see where they do that. But at the same time, for something that hasn't come out, I can't really justify that. There's fandom, and if let's say if Tyrion Lannister is somehow killed on Game of Thrones, I'm going to just not watch the show. I'm not going to just say I'm going to harm myself or do this and that. So I'm not sure about all that, taking it to that extreme. But yeah, although I have heard people wanting to send a message and make sure that happens. So yeah, that makes sense. Japan's pretty balls to the wall. So let's hope that doesn't happen and everyone enjoys the whole thing. But yeah, like I said, as far as America goes, I have heard seen comments of people who didn't like necessarily the new style, or really worried that it's not going to be as fun as the 1990s, animated show. So we have a few more weeks till we figure that out. So yeah, there.
To not like it is one thing, but to take it to this extreme is too far, I'm gonna say. I don't really think it's that serious. Even if you hate it, you still, okay. I'm gonna assume that the problem with the new Sailor Moon Crystal is it would be changing the format from, when you were a kid or a teenager or whatever, and what you're used to. Change is inevitable. That is the only constant in this entire world. And to not like it is one thing, but you're still going to have those memories of what was wonderful and, what you associated with as a child or as a teenager. You're still going to have that in the back of your mind. But a new era doesn't mean the end or death to those memories unless you kill yourself. And, then those memories die because, you're dead. But it's still, like, you can still go to a video store, and buy the old, I have on my shelf, I don't even remember, I guess it was like Pegasus collection maybe, I don't know. But with Mini Moon and all that, I have that on my shelf right now. Like, it's viable, it's still watchable, you can still relive those memories. You don't have to watch something if you're not interested in it or if you think it's going to ruin your life or anything like that. I think mass suicide is a little much. And I'm hopeful that this is like a joke and that this isn't actually a potential threat. But because, you can't believe everything you read on the internet. So I'm not just blindly jumping into this, but I'm hopeful that nobody's really necessarily this stupid or upset about something so simple.
Yeah, like I said, there's, we're all fans of certain things, and, there is a sense of nostalgia with it. But yeah, I'm figuring that this is just kind of a rally cry from the Moonies to, especially the Japanese ones, to either stop or change things. But it's a coming. So like I said, for me, I'm just going to sit back and take it as it is. Like, X-Men 3 existed. I just took it as it is. It was not good, but I took it as it is. There's still a Phoenix Saga and everything, so that's me. But yeah, we're getting deep here on R3. A very special episode. Dear goodness. But speaking of bad movies, I think let's trade off into that. And speaking of animes, probably... Now, there's certain bad movies that we can talk about, like, The Room, that's so bad it's entertaining. But there's one that's placed in my heart as, well, my childhood a bit, which is the Dragon Ball movie. Dragon Ball Evolution. Oh dear God. It was so bad that it made me feel like, when I was watching it, I was having a terrible day. Like, just, one of those days that you just want to crawl up in the bed and just not deal with the world. That was one of those types of days. And myself and another were having the same bad day. It's like, you know what? I got this, free credit or whatnot. Let's pick a movie and watch it. And we looked at Dragon Ball Evolution. Like, you know what? Let's watch this. By the end of that movie, we felt so bad for the production of this that we actually felt better.
That's unfortunate.
So that's how bad that movie was. It makes your bad day seem, not as bad because you weren't a part of that movie. I can't really... There's nothing I can really say that's really good about that movie. I didn't go see it in the theaters, and I didn't pay to see it. So that was the only good part about it. But, yeah, just... If you ever are having a really bad day, watch this movie. It'll make you feel good about living life.
Okay, fair enough. Did you ever see the movie Knowing with Nicolas Cage?
No, I did not.
Okay. I have very mixed emotions about this movie. While watching this movie, it was the best movie I had ever seen. And it was incredible, and the basic premise is there is this guy, and his son has these numbers. There's these numbers everywhere. I don't know. And they're figuring out what the numbers mean, basically. And there's a time capsule, and it's been a really long time since I saw it. But, basically stuff is happening, and there's a lot of numbers involved, and trying to figure out what these random numbers mean. And this movie was absolutely incredible right up until the last 3 to 5 minutes. And then it all just went to shit. All of the hard work that I had invested in that movie, the hope, the excitement, everything was destroyed because of the way that it ended. And I feel like I would watch it again because it was a really good movie. I just was not expecting the ending, and I don't want to give it away because it's a really good movie and you should definitely watch it. But I wasn't expecting the ending from what the rest of the movie had been building up to, and I was so let down and disappointed and just frustrated that that was the route that they had taken after putting so much into the rest of this movie. That has been one of the most frustrating movies that I've ever seen, strictly because of that last 3 to 5 minutes and what they decided to do with the storyline. And no. It's just very upsetting.
Just no.
Just no. Another movie. Have you heard of the movie or seen the movie Contagion?
No, I have not.
Okay. I had to watch this for my class because I was a community health minor. And I had to watch it for a class, and it's basically about this huge epidemic that is like destroying the world. It's got a ridiculous kill rate, and they just, like most scary movies, like you walk out and you're like, oh, it was just a movie, that couldn't actually happen. But the thrill factor from this movie is like, this could really happen and has come dangerously close to happening multiple times since this movie has been made and before the movie was made. And, it's about this huge epidemic that's wiping out huge portions of the population, but you wouldn't know it unless you, like, did the research and, like, were really invested in, figuring out the background information to what research the producers did. But they designed this virus, this hypothetical virus that they created for this movie, based off of a real virus that, exists in the world. And for the movie, in order to make it seem more realistic, they actually lowered the death rate so that it wouldn't kill as many people, so that it would seem more realistic. But based on the virus that they were basing the movie off of, the death rate is actually way higher. So it's more likely that you're going to die than when you're watching this movie. And that frustrates me because I'm like, they wanted it to seem realistic, so they made the death rate lower. That is so frustrating.
So what they did was they clearly just not know the rules of how death works, and it's really not really that's why.
Is that how I sound right now?
That's exactly what. See, that's how I would sound, but
that's not how death works.
So obviously they didn't really take into fact of the death cold syndrome. That's what I heard. I thought it was a valid thing, but also brilliantly nerdy. I loved it. Uh,
What? Nerdy me? No.
it's like me
Okay.
having a problem with Back to the Future with space-time continuums. Like, clearly, they have not seen this, and they should have really done this. Like, it's... I'm not picking on you. I'm slightly trolling because that was adorably great.
Whatever. Ugh.
Oh god, that was fantastic. That made my day. Let's see. I don't think there's any other. Well, do I have another movie? I don't think I do. That was just that horrible that was so horrible that I couldn't forgive. Like Dragon Ball was one I couldn't forgive. Up there, the Room is funny, so I could forgive that. Movies like Shazam, like, they were kids movies back in the day, so I can forgive those. Let's talk about video games. Oh man, I have to talk about Black Site Area 51. So this was back in, like, I think late 2007, early 2008. So new games were coming out for PS3 and Xbox 360, and so I was looking at Black Site Area 51. I liked Resistance, Fallen Man on the PS3, and that kind of seemed like that. So I downloaded the demo, and I downloaded the demo. It took me, I went to sleep and it came back on and everything, and I played the demo before work, and it made me angry at the world. It just was so technically, phonetically, mechanically terrible. I turned off my system and paced around the room like, no. And just pointed at my TV screen like, no. And I carried that into work. Like, I'm just mad. I was like, why? Black Site Area 51. I just wanted to take every copy that we had in that store and burn them. Like, that was just... Like, if you ever... Just go on whatever console you are, if it still exists, download the demo for Black Site Area 51. And I can't even, like, describe to you what exactly was bad about it. It was just playing hate. It's like I had hate in my hand in this controller, and it went inside of me. And it just carried throughout the entire day. So anytime anyone I didn't like came in the store and they wanted to recommend a game, I recommended Black Site Area 51. That's how much I hated that demo. I didn't even pay to play the thing. It was just literally playing like 30 minutes of a demo. And I was just rage-filled. So, that's one video game. Crystal, what you got for me?
I've brought it up before. I'm bringing it up again. Tomb Raider, Angel of Darkness.
Ah.
Why? It could have been so good. They freaking destroyed it. My cat is losing her brain right now. What is happening over there? Okay, bye. I think a fly got into the house 'cause she's like jumping around and she's never this excited about anything. They fucking botched it up. Could have been so much better. I don't really know what just happened.
Was that your rage voice? Was that your disdained voice of a British accent?
I guess so. They bloody botched it up. I don't even know if it's like Scottish or Irish or British.
You just have to have a different accent to exclaim the rage that you have for this.
Fucking ish. It's an ish. They ruined it. I was angry. It could have been good. I want them to try again. I actually think I might have had a dream about that the other night where, like, they tried again to make a new Angel of Darkness, like, reboot, because they were on this Tomb Raider, the rise of the Tomb Raider and all that jazz, this whole new streak. In my dream, they were like, this gives us a chance to try again with Angel of Darkness, and I'm just so disappointed because I don't even think I actually managed to play through the whole game. I don't even remember because it's been so long, but like, it could have been good. There were like Venus flytraps and stealth mode and like breaking people's necks stealthily. Yeah, it could have been really cool, and they rushed it and they fucked it up, and it makes me angry, and I want to cry. Um, yeah.
I will echo that statement because I remember pre-ordering it and getting it. No, I think I bought it used at one point because I've missed a couple games. Pretty much anything after, realistically, Tomb Raider 2. And I'm giving a little bit of leeway to Tomb Raider 3, but realistically, anything after Tomb Raider 2 is subject. After Tomb Raider 3, they tried to kind of go back to the original Tomb Raider with Tomb Raider Lost Revelation. And then they tried to, it was PS2 time, so they tried to do a PS2 Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness. And I remember the mechanics of trying to, the very first, 5 minutes of the game, you're in that dark alley, and you have to go do this and do that, and it doesn't tell you how to do that.
Doesn't tell you anything. Nothing.
It doesn't tell you anything. You're just in this corridor, raining. There's nothing coming at you or anything, mind you. But I was stuck in that thing for an hour, trying to figure out, where the fuck am I supposed to go?
Because it doesn't give you any clues whatsoever, and it's completely new mechanics. She can do new things, and so, but you don't know that yet, because it's, the first scene after she realizes that shit's gone bad. After that first, cutscene, it's right then, so you have no idea what she can do in this game yet, and you're just stuck in this alleyway, and it's raining, and it's dark, and you have no idea what's going on, because you can't figure out what you're doing. They give you nothing.
Yeah, I remember doing that and then getting past it and then just really losing interest really quick. And I remember trading in some games and they were like, this Tomb Raider game is 10 cents. And I was like, you know what? Go with that. I don't want this in my life anymore.
Yep. This was also the first game in which she had a partner, which is debatable, I guess, because not necessarily sure that, getting flung with ninja stars counts as a partner, but wasn't an enemy that you had to kill, so I'm going to say it was a partner. I can't remember his name. Pretty sure it started with a K. It was Keith or Kenneth or something like that. Whatever.
Kenneth the Ninja.
Kenneth the Ninja. But, that could have been cool too, but they fucked that up too. And it was just, the game just got destroyed. It was a disaster. I'm looking at it on my shelf right now, just shunning it. I'm you stay over there. The box has not been opened in months. Actually, it'd probably be a really good spot to hide money or something, because nobody fucking wants that game. Nobody wants that shit. None.
Your entire house was stolen except for a copy of Tomb Raider: The Angel of Darkness.
Exactly.
And there's a post-it note on it saying, "I'm sorry, I couldn't do it."
I didn't want this either.
No, I didn't want this. I have standards.
Oh goodness. Well, that's my biggest rant for video games. Although Wet was,
oh dear God, Wet.
I tried. I couldn't. I felt like it was taking Mirror's Edge, the parkour from Mirror's Edge, and the badassery of Tomb Raider, and trying to combine them, but then just somewhere along the lines, they just sprinkled misery in that bitch, and it just failed. It was just, no. It didn't work.
I was so on board for Wet, and I got pre-ordered. I was pimping it out. I was like, "Yeah, you guys get Wet. We got a trailer for it and everything. It looks really cool. It looks kind of rockabilly, Quentin Tarantino style." And then I start playing it. The mechanics don't quite work. You really, you're just kind of pushing buttons to try to kill things. Things don't quite work out how they want to. There's this weird ramp system that you have to run up a ramp a certain way in order to do things. I'm why am I doing this? It just, at some point, kind of falls apart. There was, it probably wasn't, Black Area 51 rage-inducing, but it just had so much promise and really kind of let me down. But yeah, Wet is a great example because I also had that experience where I got Wet. I bought it day one. I got home. I started playing it, and I was like,
Mm-hmm. Yep. I wanted it like right off the chuck, but I didn't quite get there, and then I like forgot about it, and then I didn't really hear much about it. I didn't see much about it. I kind of just forgot, and then it was like on sale, and I was like, hey, I remember really wanting to play this game. I'm gonna get it, and I got it, and I sat down and I like played it for a little while, and I was like, okay, I'm really not into it, but maybe I'm just like not into the meat of the game. So I had to go to work or something, and I left, and I came back, and I tried playing some more. And I think I maybe tried playing for like an hour every time or so, and I tried like 3 or 4 times, and after that last time, I kind of just didn't care. And I don't even think I made it through the first like level. I don't know. There's this part where there's these guys, and well, obviously that's like most of it is these guys are trying to kill you. But you're in like a square, and these guys are like trying to kill you, and there's like a fountain in the middle or something like that, and it's really early on in the game. But I never even made it past that. Like, I was just bored with it. I was like, alright, whatever. And I just kind of forgot about it.
Now, I'm going to talk about a more recent game that let me down, and some might find this surprising, but Watch Dogs.
Really?
Watch Dogs, I think, I'm not saying that it's a bad game. I'm just saying that from what I remember it being at E3 and them playing that concept, it really didn't mesh well with me. And I remember, I was all about Watch Dogs. I had it paid off months before it ever came out. Remember seeing trailers, and I loved the idea of like, cyberpunk and everything. And then I started playing this, and I'm like, you know what? This really... I was like, okay, I'm going to keep playing this and everything. And then all of a sudden, it turned into GTA. I'm like, that's not the game I really wanted.
That's disappointing.
Like, I'm spending more time in cars and going to these things. Once I get to, like, the missions and everything, I'm having fun, and I'm, like, blowing boxes up and, like, just really being an asshole to these people. So, I'm down for that. But I went through and I just kind of just lost interest playing because I think I realized my thing. With GTA and all these other games, I'm not a big fan of modern open world games because of cops. See, like I remember being in Watch Dogs and the very first mission where I guess I accidentally activated this mission, or either that was something to progress through, where I had to get this car and avoid the police. And that took me like 3 or so hours over, every day for like 3 days to even try to do. Because I would go and they would always find me. Like I had to go in, dart around, and get to this one corner and like do a spin turn just to hide before they found me. If I was a second late, they would follow me for the rest of my lives. And that just frustrated me because I'm like, I'm not here to do this. Just stop doing that. Like I said, that might be an inaccuracy with me, but it caused me a bit of disappointment because I saved up and paid for the game and it was not what I wanted. Because I wanted to go in and be the cyber guy and walk through clubs and do these things. I didn't want to necessarily have to have the intermediate part of like me having to chauffeur cars in order to do things. So that was just me. I'm not saying that it was a terrible game or that you shouldn't play it, but it is very much Grand Theft Auto style. And I just realized that with this and like with GTA 5, why I never got into it is because I don't want to deal with cops.
I deal with those enough in real life.
I
deal with those enough in real life.
Exactly. I was like, all right, the reason why I'm in this game is to escape things. I don't want to necessarily have to deal with cops. Red Dead Redemption had a huge blast on. I was riding a horse for like 30 minutes to get from town to town, and I was okay with that. Things like, what was it? Saints Row. Saints Row really don't have to deal with cops. I'm just jumping out of places with parachutes on, my underwear with foam fingers on. It's escapism. That's what I want, I don't want to necessarily have to deal... That's why I don't do things in real life because of cops. Now I have to go into video games and they will hunt me down until I have to restart the game. No, just get rid of the cops. Just go do things. That's my big rant. Sorry.
I can't really follow that up. I mean, I have a Nissan Sentra SR strictly because I know that if I get anything more powerful, I'm gonna have a ridiculous record. Because I have a little bit of a lead foot. I've been pulled over 3 times in my life, 2 of which have been since I got my Nissan Sentra. Both times were for having too heavy of a foot. So that's why I don't have a fast car. I don't want to deal with cops in a game because I have to deal with them in real life. Because I like to drive fast, and if I want to drive fast, I have to do it in a video game because otherwise I'm going to get arrested. And on that note.
Let's see. We covered. I really don't have anything on comics. Comics is kind of my weak point.
Yeah.
Anything literary is kind of my weak point, so I don't have any rants about that. We covered movies, we covered anime, we covered video games, TV shows. TV shows is next. I hate it. Here's my thing. The thing that I hate is I hate when I have a good show, and to me it's good, and places cancel it. It's like I can't have the things that I want, but Survivor, Real Housewives of Atlanta, American Idol, Dancing with the Stars, all these other shows still exist.
They somehow...
New Girl, goddamn New Girl. That still exists. It's on its 4th or so season, and yet Firefly only gets 1? Really? Almost Human only goes to 1 episode, and it was actually pretty good. Some shows I kind of knew were going to get canceled, and they just kind of really spoke to me or whatnot, but I just really hate the way TV is, that they don't necessarily want anything good on. Especially, this is the reason why I stopped watching Fox. It's because anything that's ever good that ever comes on Fox is canceled within a season or 2. And yet everything that's pretty much mediocre is on for 10 years. Not counting any of the animation shows, because they're fantastic, but yeah, I really hate watching a show that I really get into and for it to die after a season. That's just me.
I very rarely watch television. I am obsessed with Once Upon a Time. Have you seen the show? You haven't seen it. Okay. Well, we don't have to get into it, but I love it. But I refuse to watch it on the television because I'm so impatient and I hate commercials. And I literally don't ever watch the television. And I went to my boyfriend's house the other day and we were watching a movie, and we were watching it on TV, and it had already been started and everything by the time I had gotten there. And I was like, oh, I love this movie. And so I sat down thinking it was a DVD, and he just happened to be watching one of my favorite movies for some reason, which was weird, but I was like, oh, okay. And he's like, I've never seen this. And I was like, you've never seen this? And so I caught him up to speed, and then all of a sudden, commercial. And I'm just like, what is this? What is this crap? Because I love the suspension of disbelief. I love getting pulled way too far into anything and forgetting that I exist in the world. Okay, I watched this movie yesterday. How do I open this thing? Okay. Getaway?
Uh-huh.
Oh my god. Okay, have you seen it? Okay, well, we can start that later. I was so far into this movie. So far gone, my brain was gone. I love that feeling. And with commercials, you can't have that. They take away everything that is beautiful and pure. And I don't like commercials.
So what you're telling me is commercials kick kittens and punch dolphins.
Yes. And they make my puppy cry.
Okay, that's. I don't like it during, like, I don't like watching TV. Like, usually if there's a movie on TV, I don't necessarily watch it because of commercials. If I'm at home, I'll pause things, but only when I'm ready. So, like, if I feel something's going on, it's like, wait a minute, I need to get some popcorn or something like that. For TV shows, I don't mind because, like, I like having little bits of chunks and having kind of a joke end on something so that, you know, a commercial can come through. That's why I don't necessarily mind Hulu or anything. But, you know, I wouldn't watch a movie that they even have on Hulu because of those breaks. I want to watch a movie, like, all the way through, like, HBO style, and have my choice of whether to pause things. TV shows, I don't mind commercials because that's kind of okay for me. But
when you're watching an action movie, you're, like, really into it. Like last night when I was watching Getaway. You get so into it and you're like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And then commercial. And you're like, well, now I remember that I exist in the world. This is disappointing.
Existing in the world wasn't a good idea.
But yeah, I would highly recommend on a break from our rants. I would highly recommend this movie, Getaway, with Eric Hawke or Eric Hawke? No, it's not Eric. It starts with an E.
Ethan Hawke?
Ethan Hawke, yeah, him, and Selena Gomez. I actually didn't pick this movie out, but I definitely was way too far into it because there's this one chase scene and I was just like so far gone and I'm just sitting on the couch like this, like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And I'm like, I don't always talk when I watch movies, but like if it's a really good movie, I'll just be like, oh shit, that just blew up! And I get like really invested, and this is definitely a movie in which you can really get invested, even though it's kind of cheesy, but definitely a good one.
I want to have a rant, and it's a very short rant about, it made me think, the word Getaway makes me think of like a Jason Statham movie, and I want to talk real quick about Crank, more or less Crank 2, being either the best or greatest movie of all time, but, I just want everyone to know that they should watch Crank 2 at any chance of time that they ever feel the need to. Just for any other reason. It's pretty much GTA in a movie, and it's utterly, fantastically nonsensical. In the middle of it, there's this Godzilla fight. I just remember, like, remember doing some, graphics for the show, and I remember it's like, I need to watch something. Let me watch some Crank 2, because I was like, I just haven't watched that in a while, and I watched it. It's like, now I remember why I watched it, because this is weird, this is edgy, this is comedical, and does not take any of itself seriously. This is exactly why I need it. It's a good rainy day movie.
A movie where he like has something in his heart and he has to like use friction to like keep it going or whatever.
Yes.
I remember seeing the commercial where he's like rubbing up against the old lady at the bus stop. That's all I can think about when you said that. Is him rubbing up against that poor old lady.
Yeah, that was fun. I just wanted to have that tiny little rant of something I believe to be good in the world, which is a Jason Statham movie.
Awkward turtle.
Awkward turtle. Alright, now the next thing that we're going to rant about is something close, near and dear, and it's going to get pretty deep. And that's cosplay. Crystal, I'm going to let you lead off on that. You had this idea before the show to talk about this, so this is going to be your baby, and I'm going to interject only when I have to, so fire away.
Okay, the cosplay community is very, controversial. I'll say that. That works. You can't please everyone. And in cosplay, more often than not, you can't please anyone. And I know from my personal standpoint, I will go to a con or really any situation in cosplay and like depending on the costume I'm wearing, I either feel incredibly vulnerable or incredibly confident. And it's not about how much skin is showing or, where I got my costume or how I made it or anything like that. I mean, I feel personally like I always you always notice your own imperfections and you always notice your own flaws, and I feel that way about my costumes too. Like there's one costume that I made completely from scratch, like fabric to creating an awkward pattern by myself and trying to figure that out because I don't know how to read patterns. Um, Fun fact. And it is like my baby. I made the whole thing from scratch, but I always notice the imperfections, and it's frustrating when people are like, "Oh, where'd you buy that?" And I'm like, "No, I made it." And they're like, "No, you didn't." And like, there's such a negative stigma associated with, pretty much the whole cosplay world. And there are a bunch of people that, they're all for supporting you, and I have a few people in my life that are like, "You're the best in the world," and I'm like, I don't know about all that, but thanks. But like, more often than not, that girl is too pretty and thin to actually know anything about her character. Or that girl is way too big or hefty or ugly or something to be cosplaying that character. She should be choosing a thicker character. Or she's too thin to cosplay that character. Or she doesn't have the right body type. He doesn't have the right body type. It's not just girls, it's guys too. And like, you're constantly hearing something about them not being right for the part. Anybody can cosplay any character or anything that they want. It's about the dedication and the commitment to the character. I try not to cosplay characters that I don't know that much about, and if I want to cosplay a character because I think that their costume is cool or something, I want to know their background. I want to know what they're like, that character is like, so that I don't feel like I'm just doing it to, fish for compliments or, get a popularity standing or something. I don't care about that. I'm not good at that. I don't like people usually. I'm awkward and incredibly socially bad in the world. Humans and me don't get along very well. Humans and I, whatever. But there's so much negative. What's the word I'm looking for? There's so much negative clouds. So many negative clouds around cosplaying and the cosplay community that it's like, why shouldn't there just be an acceptance for anybody and anyone in any level of expertise? Like, Yaya Han can pretty much make the world out of a toothpick because she's just that phenomenal. I don't know how to read a pattern. I have no idea how to read a pattern. I've been cosplaying for like 2 years and I don't know what I'm doing. I just make it work. And I don't know how, but it works. And I'm not as old as Yaya Han. I'm sure there are older cosplayers because I know for a fact that there are. And there are younger cosplayers. Like the little girl that I met at in Amazement. She was like 3 years old and she totally knew who Annie from League of Legends was, and she was dressed up as her and she was freaking adorable. And I loved it. There is a page, a community on Facebook that I just recently joined, and I think it's called I Love My Cosplay Body, and it is really perfect, and it shows all levels of expertise, all ages, all body types, everything. And it accepts them for who they are, and it's a huge community, like, especially compared to my little page, but more people need to be a part of that. And more people need to realize that it's not about exactly looking the part. It's about having a feel for the character and having a sense of community with other people that are interested in whatever that fandom is, whether it be an anime or a video game or a movie, whatever. It's the conventions are about finding other people that like what you like and not feeling as socially awkward as we do in the real world, because we're pretty much all really weird and we just don't see the other really weird people until we go to a convention. And so I feel like the whole cosplay community and the whole con scene needs to work more on acceptance rather than who can perfectly fit a character or who can make the most money off of a character. Not to say that famous cosplayers aren't doing awesome stuff, but I feel like just because they're famous doesn't mean that they're the only ones that have a say in what's right in the cosplay community or how to do something the right way. And this community on Facebook, I think, is probably going to be a good way to start a trend and make this negative stigma start to go away. And it's not just being a part of a group on Facebook. Like, if you're at a con and somebody's like, wow, that girl looks ridiculous or that guy looks ridiculous, stick up for them. It's not hard. Like, you wouldn't want to hear that about yourself from someone else, and you wouldn't want to hear someone say that about your friend. So who knows? Maybe you could be friends with that person that was getting picked on, and you'll find out that you guys are like really have like pretty much everything in common. You never know. And I feel like I'm ranting now. I mean, that's kind of exactly what I'm supposed to be doing. That's exactly what I'm supposed to be doing, but I feel like it's a never-ending cosplay rant. But it's just, this world is so big, and there's already so much fucked up in it, that there's no reason for someone to feel so confident walking out of their hotel room at a con and then to get to the con where they feel like they're going to be completely safe, which is how I usually feel. Like, when I'm at a con, I feel like, yeah, everyone within a 5-mile radius outside of that convention center, they're going to be like, why the fuck is this chick dressed so weird? She's, like, really crazy. But everyone in that 5-mile radius and everyone right at that con is going to accept me. At least that's what I'm assuming. And so when suddenly someone doesn't, or doesn't accept someone else, it's frustrating because that's supposed to be our nerdy happy place. And I want to keep it that way. So that's my rant. We need to figure out how to accept each other better, I guess.
I mean, I agree. Like, this is cosplaying has been around ever since, superheroes or comic book characters have existed. When you're a little kid, you put on a red cape and you're Superman. That's been going on since the 60s. I would say really much in the past probably like 5 or so years, it's really ramped up into something much more. When you look at more popular people like Jessica Negri, Yanchan, Monica Lee, and just hearing even their like backstories and side stories that these people have jobs, they're in college most times, and it's boomed into this big like art form in a way. It's kind of like how YouTube has made everyone have a voice and everything, and it's so unique because this is kind of like, to put it to the point, geek guys like me have dreamed of this renaissance that you're having, women, actually, be a part of the geek community in a equal and even almost bigger way. Like, it's, I know Donnie, I know Jared, and, male cosplayers, but, the stars of the show are, the girls and everything. Even in, especially in anime, you always have a magical girl, you always have these things. But yeah, Sometimes we, think, all this stuff from YouTube to Facebook to cosplaying to even vlogging like we do to be a big popularity contest, and really it's all about having fun. That's why, you and I are together. We're just doing this and having some fun. I highly enjoy it. Uh, there's there's people of all sorts of skill types. There are people who are million likes on Facebook, and then there are those who are like, 500 or 600 that absolutely will choose over any of the big names. Just because I know those people and they're beautiful and they're inspiring. And I think we're, like I said, with this whole new surge of popularity and nosement, we're still having a bit of growing pains getting into, being acceptable. You have people who, gender bend, who, race bend, who, people who are, kind of picture perfect of that character, and those who put their own unique little spin on it, and those who are, from this size to this size to this size to this size to, it's all about really the personality of bringing out that character, and really just having fun with it. And that's what we should all really strive to do. That all this stuff is, we talked earlier about suicides for, Sailor Moon anime, from people persecuting others for either being not, maybe the ideal size for this character. We're dealing with imaginary characters. Sailor Moon doesn't exist. League of Legends is a bunch of polygons that a bunch of people made up to be a thing. Once upon a time is about characters that have been written hundreds of years ago that don't really exist. And we should just be having fun with it. I mean, whether or not you, make a freaking cardboard, armor out of something, hey, that's fun. Whether or not you bought it, had someone made for it, just use your ingenuity to make it even recognize that it's a character or anything. It all has to be fun. I mean, sure, we stress ourselves about being perfectionists and wanting to do it right, and because we do admire those that, kind of live the life that we want. Do we want to be Yachan, Jessica Negri, Monica Lee, and go to all these cons and be with these people that, make us happy? Sure. But I think we just really need to kind of, if we're here in North Carolina, we have kind of like our cosplay group of people that, we can name off, and we see each other at different cons, we say hey and everything, and all of us are, you guys, I'm not even including myself in these things, from Jace at photography, from you, Knox, Enchanted Wishes, Donnie, Jared, everyone, to doing such great, amazing things that, make me want to go to these things. And, I don't care if I'm paying place. I'm here with my friends. And that's what makes me go. Not to be popular, not to be the perfect version of something, but for the community. And the community is probably, geek community is probably one of the best and most accepting, but it's not perfect. We are going to still be trolls, and, certain attitudes will spoil it for a bunch, but I do agree with the rant that, we shouldn't be so scared of things. That's, we're already intimidated by people to begin with, so why should we be intimidated by those who are like us? So just, if you see a cosplayer and they're doing something right that get you to notice, leave a comment on their page, like their page, retweet them, like them on their, Facebook, YouTube, or anything. Just, or DeviantArt. Just be supportive, and if they're doing something that maybe, like you can't do, or you don't know if you can do, or haven't tried yet, ask. And if you're asked, they're coming to you for advice. They like you. They want to, be your friend. They want to get your knowledge and everything. We should share that. There's enough room here on the internet for everyone. So that's my rant. Sorry.
I saw I like about cosplaying and cons and like I don't know, it's not necessarily just local cons, but I'm more likely to go to a con in North Carolina, in Durham, Raleigh, in those general areas because it's not that far. It's only like 2 hours for me to drive, and obviously coming from North Carolina back home to New York, 2 hours is nothing because like the regular drive back home is like 10 to 12. So 2 hours is like a walk to Walmart basically. But like I see people that like I don't necessarily remember which con I saw them at or where I, met them first, but like just recently at Animasement, I'm on the elevator or escalator, I guess it was technically. It wasn't an elevator, it was an escalator. Although they had elevators too. It was like huge. That place was insane. But anyway, so I'm on the escalator and I'm like looking for a friend, and I'm like texting back and forth and I'm like looking around and I'm trying to find them. And somebody is leaning across the other escalator, like trying to high five me. And he's like, "Hey, how are you? I haven't seen you in a while." And like, I remember the face, I remember the excitement, that like his energy. I couldn't tell you his name, couldn't tell you where we met, none of that. He wasn't in costume or anything. He was just there and energetic, and his existence lit up my day for a little while. And that friendship is something that you wouldn't have pretty much anywhere else, because nobody else in the world can let down their guard in public really, unless you've been friends for forever. But when you're at a con, those walls, they just fall apart, and you can be crazy and be yourself and hang over the edge of a wall and scream at your friends from 5 stories above them if you want to. And nobody's going to be like, "Wow, that person's really weird," because they're all just as weird. And that's something that I don't think should be taken away because someone thinks that you look different or bad or any of that. Like, those are usually the people who feel like that are usually the people that haven't let down their guard all the way and don't realize just how much goes into making every con happen and to making the perfect costume the perfect way you want it, or maybe not even the perfect way. Maybe just enough that you're like, this is worth showing off. Because I have multiple costumes that I'm like, this thing sucks, but it's close enough that I can go out in it and be happy, and most people are still going to understand what it is. I don't know. I'm done ranting.
You're done ranting?
I'm going to try and be done ranting.
That got intense! Your goodness! Wow! But yeah, that's... But yeah, there's the internet community, I think, can stand to... The thing I like about cons is that there is no, intermediate walls to let you be kind of that troll in a way. Because if you meet these people in real life, you never really hear too much. But obviously, you hear them on the internet, and they hide behind text and everything because they're not around these people, so it's easier to do that. That's why I like going to cons and everything, because there's, you can hear certain things or say certain things, but when you're meeting people face to face and everything, there's a certain understanding there that you don't get from just passing judgment on a GIF or a picture that you've seen. That you can say, "Oh, well, she's doing it for that," or "Oh, they're doing it for that." Like, well, have you met this person? Have you gone through this? Like, it's one of those deals that I just, we all have those, knee-jerk reactions of, seeing this thing and being like, "I don't know about this." But we'll have all different experience if we actually all met up at, cons and actually met each other and have a little bit more understanding. So that's pretty much the end of my rant. Just love one another. It's going to be okay.
That being said, we should probably start wrapping this up. We've been on here for like at least an hour, probably more at this point.
Yeah, we got passionate today. This was fantastic. But yes, yeah, that's really all I got. Don't really have any news and updates. Sorry for the lateness of our last episode. I've been hard at work trying to make things look great, and I've been really proud of the results. And I hope that you have too. Like I said, leave some comments down in the comments section. Tweet us at RenderR3 on Twitter, and like us on Facebook, facebook.com/RenderRateReport. But that's pretty much all I got.
Alrighty, guys, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed our crazy ranting and our very passionate explosions. We'll go with that.
Passionate explosions?
Yeah, passionate
Is that a new flavor of Starburst?
It's like Starburst all over again.
Starburst all over. Passionate explosions.
This is why we need a bloopers feed right here. We need bloopers. Okay, that's it, guys. Have a great week. Signing off, I'm Crystal Croft.
Alright, I'm Joey Render.
That's it for this week. Keep it geeky, interweb.
Alright, bye-bye, guys.